Maybe it's just me, but Sonic has always been sort of a spiritual cousin of sorts to Goku in the sense that both of these guys are childhood favorites of mine who can tap into this awesome golden power and become really hard to beat. With the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie coming out, we saw some really incredible power from Sonic, but that's not the real power of Sonic. The real power of Sonic is Supersonic. But how strong is Supersonic? You would be amazed to find out that Supersonic is beyond anything that I could have ever imagined until I looked into it. So on this video, let's discuss the incredible power of Supersonic. So how strong is Supersonic? We'll be discussing that here today on this video, and I'm not alone. Joining me on this video, please welcome to the channel for the first time, a Sonic artist, enthusiast, historian, and hardcore fan to help me go over this insane power that Supersonic has. Please welcome Kurai Jinx, aka Johnny. What's up, brother?
Howdy, folks. How you doing?
That's your classic intro, and it's good to have you here on Geekdom 101. First time, but when I was doing the research for this Supersonic character, there are some crazy feats that we found, especially in the comics, about how strong he is, and I had to bring you on to talk about it, man, because you helped me find some of this stuff, and I was just amazed.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here, and I'm glad to help with discussing this peculiar little character that I love so much.
Yes. I have loved Sonic since I was 7 years old, and it's a iconic character, and with the movie being out, why not talk about this? So I want to go back first to the video games. The original Supersonic was in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and essentially the way you become Supersonic is by getting the Chaos Emeralds. Now, in the game, you have to get the Chaos Emeralds, and then you have to get 50 rings. I want people to understand something. Supersonic in the video games was insanely powerful, but they did put limitations on the character. The game designers did, because it's still a video game. You can't just have an OP God mode character. You do earn Supersonic, but in the game, Sonic does fall into pits, and, you know, there are things that can kill Supersonic. So because of that, there's limitations. The rings, of course, running out. There's just ways the game had to kind of be clever to make it not be so easy. Now, the Chaos Emeralds is how you get the power of Supersonic. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it not stated that the Chaos Emeralds not only have unlimited power, but also have the ability to resurrect people like the Dragon Balls?
Generally, the Chaos Emeralds are always said to have unlimited power, you know? And in Sonic 06, Sonic is killed, but is then resurrected through the Chaos Emeralds, so much so that he's resurrected as Supersonic.
Right, and just the idea of them having unlimited power, if we're taking that feat into consideration, then that would mean that they're probably up there with the Super Dragon Balls if we're comparing it to Dragon Ball, because I talk about Dragon Ball mostly on this channel. So I think that's one way to look at it. Now, does that mean that Sonic has unlimited power? That is, of course, the question, and we have to get to the comics about that. So again, to figure out this puzzle, we have to go to other sources. Now, Sonic X was the first anime to feature Supersonic as, like, you know, as a character. Like, Sonic was, there's other Sonic cartoons that have been around forever, but Sonic X was the first and only one to have Supersonic exist. And in Sonic X, Supersonic can fly and just rip through stuff, and he is, you know, super freaking powerful, and you can't fly as him in the games. You can jump higher, but you can't actually fly until you get to Doomsday Zone. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit, because in Doomsday Zone, you have Sonic in the vacuum of space chasing after Robotnik, Eggman. Dude, the dude can breathe in space, and he's ripping through asteroids like freaking a hot knife through butter. That's like Super Saiyan God tier, if you ask me. Like, that's beyond Super Saiyan God. Like, Goku couldn't do that kind of stuff when he was Super Saiyan on Namek against Frieza, but in Sonic, this guy can do it just as Supersonic.
And keep in mind, that's one of the weaker versions of Supersonic. Because Doomsday Zone, Sonic grows stronger over time, you know? This is most evident with Sonic Adventure and Sonic Generations, where he fights the same boss, Perfect Chaos, twice. once in Sonic Adventure as Supersonic, and again in Sonic Generations as in his base form.
It's almost like, yeah, he got stronger, so Supersonic would have ripped him apart. But again, that could also be the game designers kind of being limited. They're trying to kind of make the game more challenging. I understand that. And they might be even trying to depower Supersonic. I feel like in some cases, they kind of figured out along the way that maybe the character was maybe too OP. But the Archie comics is where things get totally wacky. But before we dig into the Archie comics, are there any other feats in Sonic X that you think kind of help explain or illustrate to us how powerful Supersonic was? Or even in other video games, some of the more recent ones?
In relation to Sonic X, 2 of its story arcs are adaptations of Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and they're generally pretty faithful, most in terms of power and everything. Like we see Supersonic go up against Perfect Chaos and really just shrug him off. And then there's the Sonic Adventure 2 adaptations where Sonic and Shadow both fight the final hazard or the Bio-Lizard. He kind of fuses with the Space Colony arc and he's falling down towards Earth, you know?
Yeah.
The lizard itself isn't the problem because they go back and forth. They hit him. They pretty much beat him, especially in Sonic X. You see him explode and everything.
Right.
The biggest problem was just stopping the arc in its tracks. And for that, Sonic and Shadow had to use Chaos Control to teleport the arc back to its original position.
Well, tell us a little bit about Chaos Control, because that feat in itself is maybe even worthy of its own video.
The thing about Chaos Control, and I'm going to sum it up as best as I can. Chaos Control can both warp people and stop time. But in Sonic 06, it is shown that if 2 people perform Chaos Control at the same time, they can time travel.
And that's one thing that Goku has never been able to do. Like, I'm not going to turn this into a Sonic versus Goku debate, but if we are going down that road, there are feats that Sonic has done, and we haven't even got to the comics yet, where they blow away Goku, like stopping time and going through time. Like, to me, that's just ridiculous levels of power. Like, Supersonic at this point is like literally like multiversal, because if you're able to go through time, maybe not multiversal, but maybe close to it. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Archie Comics, okay? So when it comes to the Archie Comics Sonic, and many fans know about this and many of them don't. Number one, me and Johnny can't go through every Archie comic. There's literally decades worth of Archie comics with Sonic. It would be an hour-long video for us to go through every single feat that Sonic was able to achieve in that comic run. It's just too much, and I'm sure all you guys who are hardcore Sonic fans, we're going to leave them in the comment section your favorite feat. In fact, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what your favorite feat is in the Sonic Archie comics if you've read them. But I want to discuss with Johnny some of the more well-known ones. For example, and some of the ones that we love the most, Sonic and Knuckles having a fight, Super Sonic and Super Knuckles, where they literally destroy a dimension. This is really powerful here. Tell us about that.
The thing about that one is that they were both fighting on what the comics call a special zone, which it's essentially the comics equivalent to the special stages. It's a completely different dimension.
Right.
And I think they refer to it as a pocket dimension.
Makes sense.
Sort of. And so their fight escalates to such a level that the moment they clash heads, the zone just explodes and disappears.
They were able to destroy an entire dimension, just Supersonic and Super Knuckles. And by the way, people asking about Hypersonic, that's a whole different thing. We're not even going to talk about that here. It's too much to talk about, but just Supersonic by himself does stuff like that. Now, tell us a little bit more about other feats in the Archie comics. Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff here.
Okay, about the Archie comics as a whole, there was this entity named Enerjack.
Right.
Which usually possesses a specific echidna if they have enough malice in them. And so said entity ends up possessing Knuckles.
Right.
You know, Enerjak's power is only limited by the vessel's own imagination.
Yeah, this is very mind-bending stuff here. This is like Marvel Comics sort of principalities types of stuff here, because if your limitations is based on your imagination, if you have a wild imagination, you can do anything. So if Enerjak were to possess Knuckles, which he did, Knuckles has to think about something and it could actually materialize?
Essentially. But here's the thing. Because it's Knuckles, Knuckles isn't the most bright character in the canon. He's not stupid, outright stupid, even if some continuities try to portray him as such. But his imagination, going by the comics, isn't that broad, you know? And there's a moment where Enerjak blasts Supersonic, and Supersonic is just straight up unfazed.
Right. No, and that's the thing. He just no-sells it.
If someone has a really strong imagination, well,
Yep.
I think they could realistically could be just, I don't want to say on the level of Zeno, because I think that might be overplaying it a little, but I don't know. It might be at that level.
You might be underplaying it, because Zeno's never even said to have like multiversal power, and he doesn't, because, well, he has multiversal but not omniversal power, because there are multiple Zenos, and he's never said to have the power of imagination. So to me, yeah, Zeno's strong, but the way you're describing it, I don't know, man. Now, what about the whole thing with Solaris and like this? Because that to me is an even bigger feat.
Yeah, and Solaris is from the games. He's from Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Here's the thing about Solaris. He exists in every timeline. When he's formed at the ending of the game, everything is turned into a timeless void.
That's right.
And Solaris exists everywhere.
Not to cut you off, but that's something Zeno never did, because there's multiple Zenos in different timelines. This character transcends timelines, and that is absurd. But anyways, continue.
In order to fight him, what they did is they had Supersonic, Super Shadow, and Super Silver essentially be in different timelines. Shadow was in the past, Sonic was in the present, Silver was in the future, because of course Trunks the Hedgehog is going to be in the future.
Right, of course.
But one of the statements that Dr. Eggman says is that Solaris eats dimensions for lunch.
He eats he's like Galactus on a bigger scale, and yet he's that powerful, but the threesome of Sonic, Shadow, and Silver were able to beat this guy.
Yeah, though they did not kill him. They destroyed his consciousness, but did not kill him entirely. For that, they had to go back into the past and just blow away the flame that was Solaris in the past. You know?
In other words, pull a Terminator and beat him before he was born type thing. Like, I understand that.
Essentially.
Right. That makes sense, because Solaris is pretty much like just this sort of, again, Marvel tier god, I feel like, you know, it's like a god level character, like a high god. And your Sonic is immortal, but not immortal, amortal. But when he has the Chaos Emeralds,
even in situations outside of gameplay, Supersonic seems to have a sort of limit to how long he can stay in the form.
Right.
For example, in Sonic X, Supersonic was fighting the leader of an alien race called the Metarex, and he was about to lose. So Supersonic can be damaged, and he can feel weak, and this is also shown in Sonic Unleashed final boss battle.
Yeah, and even in the old games, he can get hit and lose his rings. I mean, he's not truly immortal, but I feel like in other words, in the comics and outside of the original games, he's got to be hit hard, right? Like, that's the way I see it. You got to hit him with some real power.
Solaris and Dark Gaia, specifically Perfect Dark Gaia, can damage Supersonic. They're strong enough to bypass his virtual invulnerability.
Invulnerability, it's a big word, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Right. Well, English is not your first language. Same thing with me. I had to learn it when I was a kid, but yeah, invulnerability.
Yeah, I'm still getting a few kinks.
That's
Still
all
fixing
good.
up a few kinks.
No, you sound great.
Really gotta be if you gotta be equal or superior to him in power.
Yes, that's the
But
way I see
Supersonic
it.
also hits hard. There is a thing in the aforementioned Solaris and Dark Gaia battles that I feel should be taken into consideration. Supersonic's Arrow of Light attack is the strongest attack in the Solaris final battle. So he's the one that does the most damage to Solaris, even if it takes the most time to charge. And there's also the thing that he is the one to deliver the final blow on Dark Gaia by piercing through his middle eye.
Right.
Though he does end up exhausted after that entire fight.
Well, he's up against like a god tier character, so I mean, what else do you expect?
And even
right?
then, he was being helped by Dark Gaia's counterpart, Light Gaia.
Right. Yeah, he wasn't on his own. But I mean, still, like, I think we've illustrated enough examples to show how strong Supersonic really is. Obviously, the comics go to a different level, but even before then, like in the video games, he's already really powerful. Let's see what they do with him in the Sonic sequels if he shows up. Are there any final thoughts you want to throw out there, Johnny, before we close out?
I feel like I should mention something about Sonic Advance. After the final battle, Supersonic goes missing for a few days. It's implied to be at least a week, and he manages to stay in that form for that much amount of time. So while the gameplay restricts him to 50 rings, meaning barely a single minute,
50 seconds, yeah,
he
right?
has been shown to be capable of sustaining the form for at least a few days.
That never made sense to me though. Like, I know what you're saying, but it contradicts everything else. So again, it just goes back to what we said earlier. The rings were a system put into the games to make the games not so easy. That's all that makes sense, right? I mean, that's it. It's game design.
There's a few gameplay restrictions put into the games just to avoid the fact that you're basically invincible,
Right. That's pretty much what it is. So thanks again for being here, man. And thank you for helping me research all of this. It means a lot to me. And let us know in the comment section what your favorite Supersonic feat is from the comics, the games, whatever. And if there's anything we missed, I would love to discuss more in the future. I love Sonic, and it's fun to do these topics once in a while. Thank you again.
Happy to be here.
Okay, thank you again. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. Spread the video out. I thank you so very much for watching. And if you like this video, check these out as well.